Hello and welcome to On The Esky, a special edition show because unfortunately it's finally happened. On The Esky has been co-code. We're in lockdown. The boys couldn't come around, so I'm here I'm in myself in my own house. But I've got the boys with me online, Peps and James Webster, also known as the Monks. How you boys doing?
Yeah, not too bad, all things considering.
Yeah, can't complain, mate. We've been shut down like Skipper. We're shut down. Skipper. But look, it was inevitable. We're only 3 hours down the Hume Highway from the Australian hotspot, and it's happened. We've gone into lockdown, boys, but that's all right. We can, thanks to the wonders of technology, we can try and get this podcast rolling via the wonders of the internet.
Yeah, definitely. So,
what have we got planned?
Oh, massive show as always. Got to kick off first with the Olympics. Finish up where, what was there, 3 or 4 days from our last podcast left of Olympics?
Yeah, 3 days. Yeah, a little bit quiet.
Yep. And there's the cricket. We've got India, England, first test in the books. And then, of course, the dreadful Australians taking on Bangladesh. Then there's NRL, AFL news, NBA and NFL as well, and a few other things in between. But we'll get to that in a minute. Well, let's start with the Olympics. Let's finish that off. What do you boys think?
Actually, we shouting a beer or are we fucking that off?
Yeah, we might as well shout a beer, considering we're in lockdown. We better tackle that. Monks, do you want to go first? Who you shout?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I guess we're all drinking, sadly, to COVID. On other sad news, Messi. I'm going to shout a beer to him this week. No longer at Barcelona. Obviously, because of all the financial troubles that they're going on around there. They've not been able to keep him, so he went into free agency early July. Weren't able to sign a new contract. He was willing to play for free. There's some rumors that were floating around, but they could only go as low as 50% of last year's wage, which was still not enough, so they had to release him. But we'll get into that a little bit later, and the deal that's gone through over at PSG. But yeah, this week, Messi, a little bit of sad news, I suppose, a little bit of good news. So have a beer to looking ahead.
I suppose it depends who you are. I'm sure there's a lot of people that fucking can't stand Barcelona that's cheering, but yeah, I do agree. I'm a big fan of Leo Messi. You know, him and Ronaldo. You can have the goat argument with them too.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty privileged to have been alive and young to watch them do their thing over the last 15 years. So it's going to be interesting with PSG picking him up. They're looking like they're really trying to get that Champions League won for the first time in the next season or two.
Yeah, that's definitely what they're chasing at this point. So it'll be interesting to see how they go with that stacked team. I think he's getting paid well in the vicinity of like £35 million or some shit like that, or euros, depending on which exchange they want to use. But a lot of dollars.
It's crazy how Barca couldn't pay for him, but PSG can pay for him and Neymar and all the other guys they've got going around as well.
I think they're very much in debt. It was the problem. They had too much money to pay back than they could expend at this point.
Anyway. That is true. Who have you got this week, Peps?
Anyways, I'll shout my beer. I am going to shout. I'll shout Mark Murphy, Carlton ex-skipper. He's going to play his 300th game this weekend against Port Adelaide, and then he's going to call it a day. They were saying no one's ever finished on 298 or 299 in the AFL. So you gotta just get to that 300, and he's done it. I think there's only he'll become the 6th Carlton player to reach that milestone. Cade Simpson famously doing it last year, and then before that, you got to go back to the sauce, back to Steve Silvani. So yeah, massive achievement in a club that's over 100 years old. To be one of 6 guys to have played 300 there, pretty incredible. Mark, enjoy your beer, courtesy of the Pep, and enjoy your retirement.
That leaves me, and I'm probably going to butcher the name, and all the Indian fans will hate me for it. Niraj Chopra, is that how you say it?
Chopra.
There you go. Marks and I were debating before where it was Cop or Chopper, and he went with Cop. So there you go.
You should have asked me. So K would have been an Italian sound with CH there. You'd be right if he was Italian, but I believe that's Chopra.
Yeah.
You've got it.
Big shout out to him for winning a gold medal for the Indian team, and I think the first gold medal in athletics as well for India. So he did me a huge solid and got India into the top 50 for the country, for that country in the Olympics. So
mate, you should be shouting him at Case. Forget about one beer. Rocketed them up the medal tally.
Hey, top 50, baby, and we got it done.
Yeah, into a strong 47th position. Well done. They're our cricket dads at the moment, but tell you what, Indian listeners, we are your dad at Olympics. You can call us by our surnames.
It doesn't matter by how much, we got there in the end. So
that's right.
Speaking of Olympics, Peps, how'd the Australians finish up?
Mate, we finished up with 17 gold, 7 silver, and 22 bronze, 46 total medals. That's the tied most gold by an Australian team since Athens 2004, and the third most total medals behind Athens and Sydney. Pretty resurgent showing, really, considering London and Rio, we had 8 golds each of those Olympics, so doubled that. There wasn't a heap of action for Australia in the back end, so we'll just run through this quickly. Obviously, with the swimming finished in week 1, and then there's a few sailing and other miscellaneous medals coming through before the last step. We didn't actually win a gold since our last step, but a few little medals.
Yeah, we went close. Well, I was really hopeful in the last event to get our 18th medal, the women's high jump, and we went pretty close, got silver, and it was a very competitive final, but couldn't get there in the end. But anyway, can't sneeze at a silver medal in the women's high jump either.
No, God, no. That was Nicola McDermott, and then Kelsey Lee Barber the night before. She got the bronze in the javelin. So the girls doing big things in the field. Obviously, track and field not Australia's strong point, and between those two girls in a reasonable showing from the Aussies. The other two people of note were 3 actually, but 2 medals. Harry Garside in the boxing, he won the bronze medal in the lightweight. He's a plumber by trade. He's ballet trained, and he won a few hearts over there in Tokyo. That's for sure. It's our first boxing medal since 1988.
Yeah, that doesn't. I think we've had multiple like heavy favourites, and of course
Jeff Horn, I think, was at the Olympics as an amateur. It's something that we kind of actually don't have a great record with at the Olympics. I think that was our 6th medal ever in boxing.
I think Hooney was a big favourite. In pulling
USA's and Cuba's, they're like 40 or 50 golds apiece.
Yeah, just dominate the sport.
Big time.
Yeah, it's crazy how.
And then you go.
Oh, I was going to mention it's crazy how you got all these top performing athletes and their day jobs, plumbing, or they're a tradie or office worker, and it's been in the news lately about the sponsorship and all that sort of stuff for a lot of the athletes, and they had to do it off their own backs. But it's great to see all the athletes compete.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the athlete pay. I was reading about the Brits actually. They pay each one of their athletes. It's not much, but I think anyone that makes the Olympics, it comes out of some sort of Olympic funding that they've got, and I think they get paid like £35,000 for the Olympics. So that's actually a lot more than our gold medalists get. So an Australian gold medalist gets 20 grand from the government. So once you convert the £35,000 back, they just for making the Olympics, the Poms actually look after their athletes a little bit better than we do. And look, it's hard, I guess. We're not in politics, and there's a good reason for that. But I do feel like all the joy that these athletes had brought us and the nation over the last few weeks. You'd think maybe the government could kind of chip in a little bit more, trying to support them a bit. You could see a few of the runners in the athletics, just trying to plug themselves pretty much after their races, saying, get around my Instagram. One of the girls was she's a checkout chick up in Queensland, and that get bugger all to make the Olympics. And the IOC, I think, made $15 billion out of this Olympics with no crowds. So you kind of start to think, oh well, surely a little bit of that, a little bit of the cream from the pie could get shared around a bit.
Yeah, and you'd think hopefully leading into Brisbane that there probably be a bit more incentives to get more of those young athletes now involved in the various sports, so they can get prepared for it and hopefully win more golds at home. That's usually the trend that happens across getting ready for the Olympics, especially as a nation. For sure.
The other medal winners since our last pod, the girls, Mary Faye Atacho de Sola, shouted her out actually in the 10 fittest chicks of the Olympics, and her partner Talika Clancy, they got the silver medal in the beach volleyball. What was that, Sean?
Did you do your list of boys?
No, I said we had to get people in the comments to get at us, and there has to be the demand. Where there is supply, there is demand. So plenty of people must have been commenting on YouTube about toilet paper today, because it was going like hotcakes here in Canberra. But not much demand for Pepsi's top 10 of list of males at the Olympics. So have to wait until Paris 2024, and I might be able to compile a list for the listeners then.
That's it. Lucky it's only 3 years away, not 4.
Yeah, that's right. I'll really have to get to work in the next 3 years on the best 10 rigs competing at Paris.
So, did we mention Bombers? Not Bombers, Boomers.
Was there any that you actually got around, or was there a few that you thought were a bit, how you going?
Yes. Well, of the new favourites sports, I think the skateboarding. That was kind of one of the things that I really enjoyed, especially because we medalled in it. That helps.
Gold and bronze, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So that for me was probably one. Seeing some more of the surfing, I think, as well. They're probably the two big ones. Just got to get the cricket knocked on. That's the next one.
Well, it's funny that you mention it. The ICC is pushing to have cricket at LA 2028. I would have thought they would have been pushing for Brisbane, considering it's in Australia. We'll have the grounds, the support, etc. But it'd be massive if cricket got the nod at the Olympics. You'd imagine T20 would be the format they'd go.
Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me if they just had like one stadium and did the entire tournament at that. They just played it day in and day out. That probably some converted baseball stadium to get it done.
Yeah, well, it's all speculation at the moment. I highly doubt we'll see it in Los Angeles, but yeah, maybe at 2032 in Brisbane, they'll have the Gabba, and you could maybe spread out a few games. There's no reason why you couldn't have some down in Sydney or Melbourne, and then have the final up in Brisbane.
Yeah, I like that idea.
What about you boys? Favorite new sports?
I really like the speed climbing. I thought that was a bit of fun to watch. I was a little bit skeptical when they announced it, but then watching it and just it's like a lot of Olympic sports. You're probably not going to watch it again until it's at the Olympics again, but you can appreciate the skill and the strength that goes into these athletes. It's a weird kind of strength in climbing. It's all in the fingers and in the forearms, and some of the stuff that they do was just unbelievable. So I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, and I think the format's quite interesting as well. Like it's a kind of like the weightlifting where it's a tiered you got to go through multiple stages and you get points across the lot, and that kind of defines who wins it. So yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, it's all combined. So they had the bouldering and then the speed and then the other one. So you kind of had to be good across all three, and if you were really weak in one, then it hurt you. So good to see that. And there's plenty of amateur rock climbers around the world that will be pretty pumped that that's an Olympic sport now.
Yep. Mr. Monkey?
No, definitely. It was good to see the return of baseball, softball. But yeah, probably same as you. I like the surfing and skateboarding element sort of come into a little bit of that X Games sort of factor.
BMX was also another one.
BMX was sick, actually. Yeah.
True. So yeah, it was cool to see that. Sort of bring in, I guess, your new age sort of sports coming through. Yeah, that was good.
We can all agree, and we spoke about it last pod, that 3-on-3 basketball is the IOC taking the absolute piss.
Yes. Definitely. Do you know who won the medal in that?
Oh, some weird countries, man. It was some weird. I don't. Monks, I don't know if you're able to be the research man tonight, considering you're probably on your laptop already. But I couldn't tell you, but I was having a look at like the finals bracket, and there was just like, I think Latvia and Belgium and some smaller European nations going at it.
I don't think Booker and Durant backed up and tried to get 2 medals.
Well, they do it in the tennis. There's people, that'll go for the singles and the Ash Barty.
Happens in the swimming and the athletics,
That's right. They all back up. Well, there's one for you. If you could send an American 3-on-3 basketball team, no reserves, 3 blokes, you'd be able to make a good team.
Yeah, you'd get it, 1 big, 1 shooter.
One big, 1 shooter, 1 medium.
Yeah.
So if everyone's available, that's you'd probably go Steph, LeBron, KD.
Yeah, probably. Or if you want someone bigger, Embiid's probably Cameroon or Nigeria, actually. Maybe.
Anthony Davis, I suppose you could go. But I like that 3. I reckon the place in the big man in 3-on-3 basketball is not as prominent as 5-on-5 basketball. Expert, of course, on 3-on-3.
True.
So in the men's, Latvia won the gold. Then the Rock won silver. Serbia came 3rd.
Can you smell what the Rock is cooking? Cheating bastards.
So
in the women's, US did win gold. Rock came 2nd, got silver, and then China got the bronze. So yeah.
What was your favourite moment? Sorry, Babs.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe it would be good if players could play 3-on-3 and 5-on-5, because when Ben Simmons and Liz Cambridge bail on our teams, they really fuck the team up because there's only 2 other people there.
That's on some smoke. So favourite moments then, boys? What was your favourite moments of the Olympics?
Monks, you got one?
Put you on the spot here.
Yeah. No. Jessica Fox, obviously.
Cut out, or are you thinking?
Yeah, that's it. The internet froze. Jess Fox obviously winning the gold, getting the finally getting all 3 medals was pretty cool to watch. Also just watching the ending of some of those real endurance sports, the road race, in the cycling, some of the long distance running, just the intensity in that last sprint towards the finish line. You just can't beat that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Love it.
How about you boys?
I'm gonna go outside of Australia. I did love Jess Fox getting that gold, especially after, she won a bronze medal in the kayak 2 days before, but you did feel like that was, not what she was gunning for, and possibly an underachievement. But I'm going to go outside of Australia and back to the ancestors and go with with the Italian 4x100 meter relay team. I punted on them. They were paying $4.50 with no America in the final there, and it was probably the best 38 seconds of my life. And that's not an exaggeration. Sorry to Sarah if listening. We did get married earlier in the year, but just watching the last leg there. They on the turn. I don't know if you boys caught this, but quite a few steps behind Great Britain, and Filippo Tortu was running the last leg, and he won by 1/100th of a second. So that for mine, never would have thought in my lifetime, or anyone's, to be honest, that Italy would win the men's 100-meter final and the men's 4x100 meter final at the Olympics.
And also getting the high jump too. So
high jump, two. They won 2 in the walk. The Italians got 5 gold, 0 silver, 0 bronze. So pretty good track and field meet for them.
Yep.
Definitely.
I was going to say Sarah's probably used to 38 seconds. So Mugs.
It was the best 38 seconds because everything else is under 30.
So I think I'm left then. So my favorite moment, again, I'll take the athletics. Jamaicans going 1, 2, 3 in the women's 100. That was pretty impressive. Like for a race, when you through the heats and how they got to that, all from the same country, who's going to win it, they're all running really well to get to that point. Like, yeah, that was, for me, that was one of the moments where to get all 3 medals in an event, that's pretty bloody impressive for one country.
And Elaine Thompson-Herah, I think the first woman ever to win the 100, 200 double at back-to-back Olympics. And they shit it in the women's 4x100 as well. They actually, one of the changeovers was really slow, and you thought, oh, geez, are they going to drop it? Oh, no, they fucked it. And they were just too good. It didn't even matter about having a shitty changeover. They just cruised to victory there.
Yep. Yeah, dumb.
Absolutely crazy.
Well, that's Olympics for now. 3 years, not 4.
3 years, yeah.
Yep.
And we'll see. We'll talk about that all again when we get to Paris.
Bring on Paris. Looking forward to seeing Rowan Browning and Ash Maloney as well, the decathlete. They should be right in their prime by then. And of course, our swimmers, watch Emma McCann really cement her place as the GOAT Australian Olympic athlete.
Yep.
That's it. I suppose we should also mention that Paralympics is about to kick off, and then we do have the Winter Olympics coming up in a not too distant future as well. So
3 or 6.
Beijing.
Yeah.
It'll be February. So yeah, what have we got? 6 months.
6 months, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, still plenty of sport.
First city ever to have a summer and winter Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Learn something new.
Enough Olympics. Let's talk some cricket. We'll kick off with England versus India in the first match. I've just checked as well. This match did end up being drawn because of shit weather in England and it raining. Guess what's happening for the second? And guess what's happening?
Is it raining? Shock me.
Yes, it's raining. The start of the second test, which was meant to be at 8 o'clock today, has been delayed because of rain.
Oh, let's send these people down to that big nation down in the south. It'll be horrible for them. They'll live down there. It's always sunny and hot. They'll be terrible at sport. Let's send them down there. Did
us a huge favour.
Yeah, thank you very much to our English ancestors. You know what? I think being locked down here is better than living on that shitty little island, to be honest. The weather's nice.
Rain's not that bad.
Yeah, but if it
doesn't rain inside.
If it rains 300 days a year, then yeah, it's probably not real great.
You'd probably get
anyway.
It's a shame, man. Like we were really looking forward to seeing two elite Test nations duke it out over there, and it's been spoiled by some pretty shitty English weather. And hopefully the whole series doesn't come down to which days it rains. India were really on top. Let's be honest. And as we highlighted last episode, the English top order is horrendous. It's horrendous.
Well, in that second innings, Burns was 18, Sibley was 28, Crawley was 6, and then the man that's carrying the entire team at the moment, Joe Root, comes out, gets 100. No one else. One other person got over 32. Well, got 32, got over 30. Everyone else was under.
Well, Root scored over a third of their runs in both innings.
Yep.
I think they call him Joe Root because after carrying England for so long, he's fucking rooted. There's a bunch of us idiots sitting down here doing a podcast from our fucking bedrooms, and we were highlighting the fact that this English top order is very vulnerable, and it's come to fruition in this test. At least the rain did save them, and they're going to get out of there without copping the L. But dire times, I think, to be an English fan, as it is to be an Australian fan. We'll get to that in a sec.
Yeah, well, Bumrah finished up the best of the bowlers. He got 5 wickets.
Yep.
Jadeja only bowled 13 in that second innings, so he bowled 16, I think, in total for the entire.
Yeah, I was going to say that's 10 more than he bowled in the first innings.
Yeah. So he had a bit of an easy one for himself. Hold on, I'm just trying to see that second India innings. Yeah, Rahul got out early, and then Sharma and Pujara were both in there on low scores. We're on track. They had to get 209, and they had 52 for 1 on track with, I think, a day left, but too much rain.
They were robbed, mate. They were robbed.
Yeah. So definitely on top on the series, and we think they're the better team, but hard to say what they're going to do going from here on. If it rains all day today, let me see if I can get some thoughts on it.
Let's see if you can get a weather forecast.
Yes, I'm just reading some commentary. It's saying it's drizzled again. They did flip the course, so it's not a huge amount of rain, but as you know, in England, it just drizzles on and on and on.
Hang on, mate. I'll save you that search. I'll give you the next 100 years. Shit.
Pretty much.
There you go. You won't have to check the app anymore.
So, without any actual cricket news and the very poor ending to how that match finished up, the first test, we might then move on to the terrible Australians taking on Bangladesh in Bangladesh.
Look, there's 2 ways you can look at this. One, congratulations, Bangladesh, Minnow Nation, good for the growth of the game, knocked off Australia 4-1 at home, bowled them out for 60 in one game. Congrats. Or what the fuck is going on with Australian T20 cricket?
Oh, big time. I think, and not everyone may probably aware that this won't be the T20 World Cup team. There's a large section of Australians playing in this team that won't play in that.
Of course.
Mitch Marsh.
The likes of Cummins, Smith, Warner, Maxwell, Stoinis coming into a side, you'd imagine changes things immensely. However, and we've alluded to it before on the podcast, England and India don't have these depth problems, whereas we do. Not named Mitch Marsh in this series scored. This is just for designated batsmen. Not named Mitch Marsh. 92 runs.
Yep.
In 5 games. Just about every batsman not named Mitch Marsh averaged under 10. Shocking. We talk about England's top order in the Test matches. Our whole batting lineup outside of Mitch Marsh in this series and the series against the West Indies were dreadful.
Oh, big time. And we've talked about, hey, we wanted the guys to probably stand up and say put me as part of that T20 squad going into that World Cup. Only one bloke has done that, and that's Marsh. So a bit concerning that, hey, we've probably got no one else coming through that's going to support that squad. We've got the 11.
And it's a shame because it's guys that we had big raps on. Your Philippines, your McDermotts, your Alex Carey, guys that we've seen perform really well in the Big Bash. And, a lot of them have had sort of 7 to 10 games here to try and prove themselves here for the T20 World Cup and just come up with donuts. Has that come through, boys?
Yeah, just delayed a little bit. It's all good. Yes, as you were saying, big donut for us. Not real great preparation. Two nations we would have wanted to have won and beat handily, build some confidence, go into the World Cup. Hopefully not. Yeah, I don't want to say we're the 4th or 5th best team. We kind of put our names in the conversation there with the other big nations coming into that tournament, and we really haven't done that. So very worried for us coming into that. Hopefully some of these guys will go across and play in the IPL. That's re-kicking off in the not too distant future too, and maybe get some match form leading into that World Cup. Because otherwise we're in trouble. We're not getting out of the group stage at this point.
Yeah, we don't get out of that group. I really don't think. All right, boys.
I think play has resumed England and India. I think it's just started back up again.
So when we say resume, started. First ball, we're going to be bowled.
That's right, yeah.
First ball, yeah.
So finishing up.
Well, that's good. They're only, half an hour behind. So that's promising.
Yeah. But no, England will get half an hour of play and then there'll be covers.
Yeah,
so,
we'll see how long it lasts.
Yeah, to finish up that Australia-Bangladesh conversation, Langer and I think one of the Cricket Australia guys, there's a big report that came out today. They were getting stuck into a staffer of Cricket Australia for posting a video that had Bangladesh celebrating in it. Supposedly some heated argument. I think someone threw up in our comments that Langer across all 3 formats has a record of something like 55 wins, 52 losses. So just hovering above 500. So yeah, whether there's some frustration there and how long is Langer going to be coach? I think we talked about this in the past about the captain, whether Tim Payne would last as Australian captain. I think he will through the Ashes. Depending on how we do in the Ashes, probably will be the decision on his career, and probably the same for Justin. Hopefully it's not a whitewash.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's a whitewash.
Of course. In this white ball cricket, Tim Payne's got nothing to do with it. But it is interesting, the rapid hate on Justin Langer. We speak about it in some of the other sports that we like to follow. For me, as a Carlton fan, not really getting my head around the David T pressure. Aussie rules football, a coach can have a little bit of a say. In something like rugby league or NFL, the coach is really, really important. I'll tell you a sport where the coach really does fuck all. Cricket.
Yes.
like seriously, I don't get all this Justin Langer hype. For his head with the way that we approach T20 cricket as a nation. I don't think that all comes down to Justin Langer. Even talking to some of my mates this week, they're kind of like, oh, it's a T20 series in Bangladesh. Who gives a fuck? Like, we got the Ashes to worry about. That seems to be a bit of the general consensus. But my retort to that would be, do you think England and India would treat a series against a minnow nation, even if it is T20, so lightly? No.
Maybe if they hadn't won anything recently like we have. So if they were looking to build some confidence and win some games, then I think they would probably be concerned. Where they are at the moment, where they're winning.
India and England. England's the defending World Cup champions in ODI cricket, and India's been consistently one of the best teams in the world getting around. I think we are falling a little bit behind those top tier nations, and I think and a lot of our opponents are starting to realise that we're not the dreaded team of the late 90s and 2000s that we used to be, and we were spoilt growing up for sure. But that said, I wouldn't have expected us to go to Bangladesh, even with an undermanned side, and get done 4-1 and not being able to post a good score in a 5-game series in Bangladesh. I didn't think that we'd be experiencing that so soon.
Agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Enough cricket. I think that's mostly news for this week.
Yeah.
Let's run through some of the local sports. Kicking off, of course, with the NRL. And he seems to be a bit of a favourite on the Esky. We'll talk about Will Chambers.
Keeps on coming up in the news.
Yeah. Dropped, of course, this week, so he's not playing this week. But he did get under the skin of the Warriors a little bit, and 3 blokes ended up getting suspended. He did cop a few jabs, though, Will Chambers. Nothing real. Nothing to talk about.
Yeah, hardly got him.
Yeah, hardly got him. Nothing to talk about, but that bloke got suspended. So
Kane Evans gets suspended. I'll tell you what, for a big bopper, a scary looking motherfucker, I was expecting him to throw him a little bit better than that. They two little left jabs, and they pretty much just grazed him, and he was having a laugh. So he got sent to the bin twice. Matt Lodge copped 2 weeks. I think Chambers was saying some stuff about the Lodge's wife, a lot of family implications here. Boys, sledging is part of rugby league. It's a part of contact sport. It's a part of sport. The question I wanted to pose to you was, where do you draw the line?
Well,
I'd say family.
Yeah, family. I think the classic example for us is probably Glenn McGrath back in the day, where going after his missus, of course, having breast cancer.
Who was sick.
So,
yeah.
That's where he was like, hey, that's definitely across the line. Like family and people are not involved in this, like in the actual sport, in the sporting arena. Like, go after the coach, go after the club, go after the players. But outside of that,
go after the players. If I'm, playing reserve grade footy here in Canberra, and someone wants to say, go get a kick, you haven't touched it today, or kick it with your nose, it'll go further than it will off your boot. Fair enough. Play on. That's great. But if someone and I'm the same, I'll harp on someone's appearance or the way that they play the game, or or their skill or ability level. That's fine. But I think people's families and especially if you're going after wives, women or children, that's a no. That's a big no. So Will's, he's been dropped. Buzz Rothfield was pretty adamant that he won't be playing any more Cronulla Sharks games this week. You take what Buzz has to say with a grain of salt, but and the other thing here with Will Chambers, when we highlighted it last week, if you want to do some talking, let your play do the talking. Yep. His games last week, 17 tackles, 6 missed. So he's missing 1 in 3 tackles. He had 24 run meters, 24 for the whole game. Not 1 carry, not a Tommy Turbo 1 carry, 24 meters. The whole game he had 24 meters. He had an error, and he had the missed tackle on Ewan Aitken, which led to the Warriors winning that game. For mine, if you're going to run your mouth like that, you got to let some of your play talk as well. And Will's not been able to do that, and he'll be riding the pine. And I think, you won't hear this too much out of my mouth, but I agree with Buzz. I think that Will has played his last NRL game.
Yeah, I can agree. Yeah, like you say, you got to have game to back up the smack top. If you don't have game, then there's no point.
Yeah, exactly. What are you achieving?
Yeah.
Speaking of games, the round 21, last round, a bit of closer games. South's the only team to score 40. Everyone else was less. Every losing team scored at least 2 moot pies, getting 2 tries. So that was good to see. A bit more of a competitive round. Was also probably one of the first rounds in a long time where we had, the top 4 teams matched up against each other. And then there was some good competition in there and that for that 8th and 7th spot trying to find there. So some actual decent footy for a change.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that Melbourne game and the Roosters Penrith game. There was one thing out of the notes there you've got to mention, Sean. 8 out of 8 for yourself in the tipping. Well done.
Yep, perfect round. It's a bit easier in the NRL, so it's all good.
Much compared to the AFL. We'll get to our tips in a sec for that. It was a fucking underdogs galore in the Aussie rules. What's the go with Peter Sterling? He's called call it a day at Channel 9. 27 years he's been there.
Retiring, and it could be Channel 9 looking like they may redo the entire roster, because I think Rabs is probably getting close to retirement anyway, but Wally Lewis and Aaron Molan also off contract and looking like they probably won't get renewed. But Sterling's the big one. He's definitely said, I'm retiring, I'm done. I can't commit to the constant traveling and being involved with the commentary work. So he's focusing mostly on radio, I believe, and going to do radio in Sydney.
Yeah,
So you'll still be able to hear Sterlo. You just won't be on your television screens or doing any of the telecasts for the NRL going forward. Big loss, but it also sounds like a bit of a change in the guard. I wouldn't expect as much Gus next year too, taking up his role with Channel 9. So there's chat.
Oh, no. Less Gus. Oh, no.
The chat that could be rolling in some of those young blokes, and you've seen some of those, Justin Thurston, Billy Slater, Cooper Cronk, Cameron Smith, not to name some future Queensland Immortals throughout you. But getting some of those...
horrible as well. There's not going to be a nice, balanced, nuanced approach to any New South Wales game.
Well, you've still got Fittler and Andrew Johns on the other side. They'll still be around. So I think
Fittler coaching. It'll be them versus the 8th Immortal.
Well, yeah. So I think they're kind of trying to get in that next generation. So you've got the 2000s to the 2010s guys already there. So now you get the 2010 to 2020, or kind of that overlap over the 220 decades there of the next superstars coming through into our game. Also some chat, maybe Matty Johns goes back and joins Channel 9, and they bring in some more of the his audience, entourage.
Fletch and Hindy hanging on.
Yeah, pretty much. But also, you've seen how well that show does.
It's got that kind of money. I think the Matty Johns Sunday night show on the Thursday night show, I think that's one of the staples of Fox at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see if they could lure him across. But to be honest, I think that's more noise than news at the moment. I don't think Matthew will be going anywhere.
Is he still on radio as well?
Believes. Does he do a show with Mark Geyer?
They used to. I don't think, from what I know, I don't think he does radio anymore.
Yeah,
So he used to be breakfast radio, the Grill team up in Sydney.
That's right.
And relinquished that role, I believe, at the end of 2019.
He pops in occasionally.
He probably swings by, but I don't think it's a daily thing. Obviously, us Canberrans, we just get to listen to Scotty and Nige on the way to work. It's brilliant listening to that.
I think they've done for a couple of years, but anyway.
I say this in all seriousness. I think our podcast is better than them. And I won't say that willy-nilly. I'm a realist. I know where we're at. I'm going to say it. We're better than Scotty and Nige, or whoever the fuck they do these days on commercial radio anymore.
We'll say this: less pop, more sports. Definitely on the podcast. So there we go.
That's right.
Yeah.
And no, I was going to do a fact joke then, but I don't think it's appropriate. Let's move.
Yes. So the next kind of news is player deals and player movement. Angus Crichton's back in the news. Sounds like Rugby Australia are chasing him, trying to get him over to the rugby game.
Well, famously grew up playing rugby union and was lured across to playing league. Just copped 3 weeks for nothing. I reckon there's not much in that crusher tackle. What are you hearing here regarding Angus Crichton? Who wants to throw one at him? Have you got a club? Is it the Waratahs? Is it someone else?
Yeah, no details. I'd say Waratahs probably makes the most sense, but no real details on clubs. It wouldn't surprise me if this is like Rugby Australia leaking it to the media. Let's get rugby into the news. Let's pick like a big name player at a big name club. And Angus Crichton playing for New South Wales and playing for the Roosters is definitely that kind of target. And put feelers out too. Like, is he actually interested? You get some media hype as well around that. They're talking about rugby again for a change, considering Australia lost to the All Blacks again, and no one knew that game was happening.
I did not know. And we speak about the casual fan, and I tell you what, the casual fan was fucking down the pub slapping the pokes because I had no idea that the Bledisloe Cup was underway last weekend.
Yeah. So I'm not sure where this will go. It wouldn't surprise me if this fizzles out and the Roosters give him a few more Mercedes and Hilux to keep him happy.
They don't do that.
Speaking of Roosters, Joey?
Yeah, Joey Manu. Joseph Manu.
Sorry, I just made my notes. Joey Manu, yeah, the Titans and Warriors could be keen on looking at adding him to their squad, and rumours about $1 million a year, somewhere in that 900 to $1 million bracket is what they're talking about. Not as a centre though. They were all thinking either six or fullback. Marketing that probably doesn't make sense as a fullback at either of those clubs, considering they got AJ Brimson and Reece Walsh just there. So it makes more sense definitely as a six, because both could do with some extra halves. So a bit of money and a bit of chat for him going on at this stage.
I feel like $1 million is overinflated media hype kind of numbers. However, I have harped on this entire season about Joseph Manu being the most underrated centre in the NRL. And from what I've seen of him playing 6 and 1 for the Roosters, he's probably not playing his best position playing centres for them. He is a ball playing 6, I think. And again, $1 million is a lot of money, but if one of those clubs was to throw 750, 800 around, I think he'd be pretty mad not to take that. One of the most underrated players getting around, and probably deserves a big contract. So we'll see what happens there. Another man that is asking for $1 million, reportedly, is the King, Clint Gutherson at Parramatta Eels. What do you make of this?
It's kind of an interesting story because they only just started negotiations, and it sounds like this has actually been leaked by the Eels to try and drive his price down, because it's rumoured, and they talked to the agent, to Gutho's agent, and he said, we haven't even started talking numbers. So this is just pure speculation the club's put out to kind of, feelers, drive it down. Because if you remember last time they did try to negotiate with Gutho, again, they tried to drive his numbers down, said, his knees are dodgy, we're not sure how long he's going to, blah, blah, blah. And he turns around and has been one of the former fullbacks and their captain as well. Like, he's leading that squad around. So I don't know what it is. And the Eels thinking they've, they've got a business to run and they're trying to drive down the cost and the prices. So they've obviously come out and leaked this out to the media and said, hey, he's $1 million. But I don't think it helped their case that, the day before or during the same day, they were talking about Joey going for $1 million as well. And a player probably, you'd say, as you say, underrated and probably a class below what people consider the King to be at. So if you think Joey's worth 700-800, you'd probably take the King and the Gutho on $1 million.
Yeah. Again, the hype around $1 million, it's that funny number, isn't it? $1 million. Didn't play, do you pay $1 million for a bloke that's not quite origin worthy? Of course, you pay your fullbacks well, and we talk about Joey Manu. I I don't think Gutho is that much better than a Joey Manu, to be honest. Although 800, 900, yeah, you're probably in the right ballpark there. Has it been leaked from Parramatta? Who knows? Who knows? The business of sport, it becomes more and more apparent every single day. Obviously, Eels fans would love to keep him around, and he's been a little bit in the news recently about some blow-ups against some teammates. Mate, I think that just shows some passion. You can tell that this bloke wants to win. He cares. My personal thought, $1 million is maybe a touch over for both these guys, Joey Manu and Gutho. But if Gutho was to get 850, 900 and Joey to get 750, 800, I think that's what those blokes are worth.
Yeah. Well, as long as you're not Tom Opacek, you're probably safe from Gutho.
Your mate. Where's Dale Copley?
I think he might even be back playing for Brisbane. I think he was in the squad and then out for a long time. He might actually be back in the squad. Actually, no, Xavier Coates is definitely back.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'll get to that. Max?
Real quick before we get into the round. So back to the rugby union, because that's what we want to talk about at the moment. It was just a international game, wasn't Bladdersloe. And we've actually got the 2021 Rugby Championship coming up in a couple of weeks. So that starts on the 14th of August. Runs through to the 1st of
August. That's 2 days.
Actually, yeah, it is 2 days. And that runs through to the start of October. So that's between the Southern Hemisphere teams. So we've got Argentina, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand. That's being played between New Zealand and Australia over the next couple of months. So,
do you know what one of those venues is?
I got the rundown here. So we've got
Sean, if you don't guess, it's a city that just got shut down.
Oh, we do. Canberra GI.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The Wallabies are playing here at the start of October. I know this because I drove past the ground the other day.
That's the only advertising they're doing?
I hadn't seen anything. I think the carrier pigeon, the Rugby Union carrier pigeon, was on other duties and it hadn't made it round to my place. And I was driving past there on the way to university and I saw it on a sign, like a billboard. That's how I saw it.
I think I saw it on Facebook from like the ACT government, not even rugby union. So yeah.
So please go to this.
Who is running that show?
Great question.
That's what it is.
I actually do play a game over in South Africa as well. Not sure if there's going to be one played in Argentina, but I guess we'll find out when we stumble across it in the next couple of weeks again.
Yeah, that's right. When the carrier pigeon gets back from the Pacific journey, it's a long way to Argentina to drop off that message, and then he's got to back up. Surely he stops along the islands on the way. You'd think, he can duck into Fiji, duck into Hawaii, Easter Island. I think is on the way. Have a rest, go shit on someone's car, and then drop off the message.
Too funny. All right, let's talk about round 22 now.
It's underway. The Melbourne Storm should be playing the Canberra Raiders, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
they are. And I did not put my tip in, so I've got
you've got Canberra as well. You got the team. I learned that the hard way last week, thanks to the Brisbane Broncos. Yep. The Melbourne Storm lead the Canberra Raiders 20-4 at half time. No surprises there, really. I'm sure the blokes that got their tips in went to Melbourne Storm.
Big time. Yeah, big time.
We were talking in the week in the group text, Sean. You said that give the trophy to Melbourne already. I thought, look, it's theirs to lose. However, I feel like a healthy Manly and a healthy Penrith and a healthy South might be able to push them. You stand by that comment that it's Melbourne's, it's their series.
Yeah, and I think because my backup to that was South can't defend.
Yeah.
Manly are a one-man team, so outside of Turbo, I don't think they've got enough. Maybe a year or two, and they can add some pieces, and then they'll push. But outside of Turbo, they're asking him to do a lot. Penrith was the only one, but like you say, they've got to be healthy. Cleary, I think, has been cleared, so that really helps them. Matt Burton's been good for them. He'll go back into the centres, I assume. Grant, I think, got suspended from memory. So they're the only one. If they can get healthy and the boys can get back to the form they were at the start of the year, it gets back to the two-horse race. If they can't, these guys struggle and they can't really get their bodies right, then it's Melbourne's to win.
I was having a look at our unofficial sponsors, Sportsbet, and to win the premiership this year, they had the Melbourne Storm at $2.20. So essentially a coin flip, Melbourne versus the field. You know what? I don't think give him the premiership just yet. But if the final started this weekend, I wouldn't complain. I think it's such a long season. It sort of drags out a little bit towards the end. There's a lot of contention for 7th and 8th, but are 7th and 8th going to do anything against a Melbourne or a Manly or a South Sydney?
Haven't done all yet.
No. So I'm kind of getting, we're kind of gotten to the business end here. Do love my rugby league, but also keen for the finals to roll around and we can put ourselves out of our misery.
Agree. And if they ever expand the league, I always thought if you add 2 teams, make it a 20-round season because you make up your games with the new teams and more games during the year, but less rounds overall.
Yeah, I don't mind that, and the player welfare side of things as well. It's one of the most physical sports in the world, and you think the NFL has a 17-game season this year, formerly 16 games, and that these blokes playing 24 games just in the regular season. I think if they do ever expand, I agree 100% with you, Sean. Maybe they would think about less regular season games and making it more finals focused.
Yep. So,
anyways, Friday night. This will be a blockbuster. The Dragons take on the Penrith Panthers. The Dragons they've finally finished the party at Vaughan suspensions, so they will have a full arsenal at their disposal. Yep. They did lose that crucial game to the Raiders last week. They play Penrith tomorrow, then they play the Roosters, they play the Cowboys, and so best case scenario for the Dragons is that they win that one game against the Cowboys, and since the party at Vaughan's plays, they go 1-7.
Yep. Throw the season away.
Yeah,
threw it away. And look, they weren't expected to do much this year. It's not as if they've missed out on a golden opportunity, but very frustrating for the fans, that's for sure. George Burgess, brother of Tom Burgess, they've signed. He signed a deal for next year, a 2-year deal. He will be returning to Australia after winning that comp with South. He's played a few games for Wigan over the last few years, but not that many. And Cody Ramsey, he is done for the year with some smashed up teeth. Did you guys see the photo?
Yeah, I've seen the photo.
I didn't actually. I'll have to check that.
Apparently, he's never worn a mouthguard ever.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Mouthguard.
Yeah, that blew my. And they have chip tooth, like shattered tooth or fractured completely. They've had him just glued on at the moment, but he needs proper surgery because it's down into like the roots. Like it's terrible. And you wonder the mustache wasn't going to protect him, so why not wear a mouthguard?
The 4 hair follicles that were coming out from the top of his lip.
Still better than what I can do.
Monkey's actually he started November last year, and this is the finished project. He's been going for 8 months.
I'm getting ready for this year. Just looking up Cody Ramsey now. That doesn't look great.
Not a problem. Not a problem at this end of the podcast. That's for sure.
So Penrith, on the other hand, they win 2014 over the Chooks in a good game of football. Matt Burton really turned it on at the end there to get him over the line and kind of really putting himself into potentially being a 6. Well, that's why the Doggies signed him. Signed him cheap too. Like, it'd be worth a lot more now if he was trying to get. So some chat that he might get re-upped with a bit of extra coin thrown his way when he goes over the Doggies to reflect how well he's been playing.
I think they'll have to. There's been some conjecture into if he could get out of that contract and try and stay at Penrith, considering how well he's played. I'm sure a good way to nip that in the bud from the Canterbury Bulldogs would just be paying the man a little bit extra. But he's legitimately the next big thing. Yeah,
I think Gus has said he'd pay him a bit more. So I think, Marks, you just said Cleary is in 21. I saw some mail floating around today, though, that he's actually going to get a run. But whether that's bench 14.
Yeah, I had heard that too. Named as 21, but apparently he's pretty close to playing. Here's one for you, budding super coaches out there. You've got the best player in the league outside of Tommy Trbojevic, and you're playing a Dragons team which has been dismal. You're probably going to finish second no matter what. Do you play him this week?
If he plays 20 minutes, you never know. He could get 3 try assists. And
I wouldn't waste 20 minutes. I'd say, mate, don't worry about that. They probably go out and do it easy without you. Rest up that shoulder, and then we've got some pretty serious football coming up after that.
It wouldn't surprise me if they give him 20 minutes, say, at the end of the second half, give him some run, and I'd say they'll be well in front of the Dragons by that point, and then say shut him down. So that's good enough. We'll come back next week. I think we're all picking Penrith
here.
Yep. Yeah, pick Penrith. They are favourites at $1.10 at the moment. St George are out at $7. If anyone wants to go for the line, 21.5.
Interesting. What's 2 Judases paying? That's what we just did. 2 Judases.
That's a $1.01. So
the next match we got Broncos taking on the Roosters. Friday night, that's at Suncorp. Brisbane are coming off a loss, of course, to Newcastle, 28-20. That was covered in our last podcast. Big news out of Brisbane is they've let Brodie Croft go. He's off to England. Another out of favour halfback that's done nothing for Brisbane and unfortunately going. And as we mentioned before, Roosters were 6-point losers to Penrith. As Pep said earlier, Angus Crichton did get 3 weeks for a very soft crusher tackle. But they do still have a good roster. I don't think Brisbane win this. I've picked the favourite again. I've gone Roosters. You boys?
Yeah, I've gone Roosters as well.
Roosters here.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. They are favourites at $1.20. Broncos are out at $4.50. The line, if anyone's interested, is 13.5. Do you see Broncos staying at 15, or could they be potential Witherspooners again?
I think Doggies will be Spooners.
Yeah, I think the Dogs have probably got it. I would love to see Brisbane go back-to-back spoons. But Canterbury essentially have to win out from here. They're 6 points below Brisbane. So, I think Canterbury's got it wrapped up. And Brisbane, by the looks, will be fighting it out for that 15th spot or 14th spot with the Cowboys.
Next match, Souths versus Gold Coast. This is at Seabus on Saturday. Of course, we talk about it, and we'll talk about the Pretenders in a minute, but Souths were too good for the Pretenders and Parramatta Eels. Adam Reynolds becomes the South Sydney's highest point scorer, 1,850 points. He overtakes Eric Sims, which was a 46-year-old record. Gold Coast on the flip side, they were too good for the Cowboys, so I don't think they've won a game in quite a while. They're, I think, on like a 6 or 7 match losing streak. I'll let Monk see if he can figure that out when we get to the Cowboys in a minute. But the big news for them during the week was Anthony Don, one of their outside backs, has called it quits. He's retiring at the end of the year and is a one-club man, a bit of a fan favourite, of course, for the Titans. Sad to see him go. I have picked Souths for this one because I think Souths will run a whole shitload of points on them because Titans have a problem with defence. Both teams have a problem with defence. So whatever the match points in this is, I'll take the overs big time. But I would not surprise me if the Titans come out and win this match with a bit of the Anthony Don mystique and, let's do this one for Anthony. It always happens the week leading to a massive announcement at the club. We usually G's the boys up and they go have a big one. Bummer they run into South, but this might be a bit closer than people think and a lot of points. I wouldn't surprise me if there's 70 in this game.
Yeah,
I like where your head's at, Sean. I think South Sydney win this game, but an upset could be on the cards. I've tipped South. I would love to know that total match points, Monks, because I agree it'll probably be an absolute slogfest.
Yeah, so I've tipped Souths as well. They are favourites, $1.18. Titans are out at $5. Line 16.5. Total match points 55.
Yep. All day, every day.
So Souths have gone. South's last 3 rounds.
I put one on, actually. I did all our tips. One of our ones was bet the unders in Tasmania, and that game got moved to Melbourne, and it went overs, and we lost that, or I lost it on that. But had that game been in Tasmania, perhaps the On The Esky multi might have come to fruition.
What are you saying, Max?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So it's South, the last, every single game in the last 5 rounds have gone over 60 points. So, that 50, 60 point mark. So, pretty safe bet, you'd think.
That's that total match points.
Total match points,
yeah. And they're a point scoring machine at the moment. You guys seen Cody Walker? His try assist is like 28, and then the next bloke is like 12 behind him.
Wow.
Having himself a year.
Definitely.
So speaking of speaking of Cowboys, So Cowboys versus Tigers, Saturday night, Saturday evening, really, up at Country Bank Stadium in Queensland. Monks, did you find their record? How many losses have they had recently? Big news. Go. Sorry.
Oh, they're on a 8-game losing streak.
There you go. Big news for them is Tomalolo has fractured his hand again. I think this is the 3rd hand fracture for him, second of the same hand. So he's fractured both hands twice in the same hand now. So not having any luck with the fella, and being their best player and their entire go forward. With him missing this match again, I have backed the Tigers.
Yeah, I went the Tigers too here. I was actually doing my tips with a lovely wife before having dinner. And I said, there's a few games I'll allow you to tip. You just go off your gut. And she said the Tigers here. So I've gone with that. We'll see how we go.
Nice one. I have gone Tigers as well. Not because I took Sarah's advice. They are favourites, $1.60. Cowboys at $2.35.
If you took her advice, it'd probably be leave while you can.
Oh, Shell's not that bad.
No,
I'm kidding.
Myself.
I know what you mean. So they are favourites, $1.60. Cowboys are out $2.35. As I mentioned, the line is 3.5, so definitely seems like it's gonna be a close one. Total match points 53. Sorry.
Hand on your heart, who's watching this game?
Absolutely no one.
Yeah.
I think everyone will be getting too prepared for the next game, which is
actually very interesting.
Should be the game of the round. One problem is, though, we've got the Pretenders coming into it. So we've got Manly taking on Parramatta at 7:30 on Saturday. That's in the Sunshine Coast. As mentioned, the Pretenders, as we keep talking about, they haven't beaten anyone good since Melbourne in round 2. Coming into the red-hot one-man team, the Turbo Eagles, who are looking like the dark horse in the competition. Does anyone see the Eels winning this game?
No, absolute Pretenders. Dave Grohl is playing 17 positions for them at the moment.
I tend to agree with this. I've also backed Manly. Monks, tips and odds, please.
Yeah, I've picked Manly as well. They are favourites
$1.20. That's his ringtone at the moment. He's just got that ready to go.
Sorry, guys, that was just my phone ringing.
Dave Grohl's on the phone.
Yeah, it's Dave.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
Yeah, Eels. Eels. Well, yeah, I'll go Eels. They're out at $4.50. Sea Eagles are $1.20. The line is 14.5. We got total match points 49.5.
So is that a $3 difference between team? What are they?
Yeah,
3 and 4
between a team running 2 places below the other team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Manly are at 6 and the Eels are at 4.
Yeah.
Bananas.
That speaks volumes to where Parramatta is at the moment.
Yeah, big time. What have we got left? Sunday games.
We've got shit Sunday. So
yeah, big time. Plan something else to do on Sunday. Maybe watch some AFL games. You've got Warriors taking on the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs, considering they had those 3 suspensions, 2 of those to forwards, the Raiders had a couple extra guys up there in Queensland they could spare. Corey Horsburgh and Ryan James have been loaned to the Dogs to play this week, so they're going to be playing
for 2 weeks. We've spoken before about the loan system perhaps becoming a part of the NRL, and they've done it. Unprecedented times, of course, with COVID. Amongst us here, but I don't mind it. I suppose there are 2 players going on loan to Canterbury, so everyone's like, oh, well, who gives a fuck kind of thing.
Yeah.
If these 2 guys are going to Penrith, they're hurt at the moment, maybe you start going, oh, whoa, hang on. Is that allowed kind of thing? But yeah, coming to the team that's coming dead last and three wins behind Brisbane coming 15th, that doesn't really bother me that much.
No, not at all. They needed bodies, and these 2 were in the Raiders squad, but not getting game time at the moment. So get them some game time, because none of the lower grades, no Queensland Cup, no New South Wales rugby league.
Nothing. Yeah. And that's hard for fringe guys. Ryan James he's been around the league for a while, done a fair bit. But Corey Horsburgh's a young, fiery bloke, just probably trying to cement a spot week to week for the Raiders. And if you can't play reserve grade footy, then you've got no ability to showcase your skills. So I don't mind this loan kind of system. And wishing them 2 blokes all the best this weekend. We wouldn't want to dwell too much on this game. I can't imagine the Warriors take on the Bulldogs. There is no finals implications out of this. And I have tipped the Canterbury Bulldogs. I needed a little bit of an outsider here. And again, the wife was helping me with the tips on some of the games that I gave her a pass to tip a few of them, and she's gone the Bulldogs, and I'll write it out with her here. I've tipped the Bulldogs for a few upsets of late, and they've absolutely let me down. So that must be due. Let's go, Dogs of War, woof woof.
I've picked the Warriors. Max, who have you got in odds?
I picked the Warriors as well. Canterbury are sneaky, so thanks to unofficial sponsor Sportsbet. In the head-to-head, the Bulldogs have won 3 of their last 5 matches as underdogs against the Warriors. So that's a 60% chance of winning there. Quick math. But yeah, Warriors are favourites $1.37. Bulldogs are out at $3.10 at the moment. We have a line of 8.5.
Yeah. Should be low scoring one. Last game, Sharks taking on the Knights. As mentioned, Will Chambers is probably the biggest name out for the Sharks. Again, another game. No, Oh, I think the Knights have snuck in the finals, haven't they? And
yeah, the Knights, I think will make the 8. I think they've got a very favourable run home with Kalen Ponga and Mitch Pearce both back and healthy. I think they'll be a real shout to make the 8. I think that the Sharks are probably going in the wrong direction, but quite an interesting game in terms of finals implications. In terms of either of these teams bothering anyone later in the finals, probably a bit of a snooze. I have gone the Newcastle Knights here.
Well, if you look at this, if we expect the Titans and Raiders to lose and the Sharks win, so then the Sharks, Knights, Raiders, and Titans would still all be on 20 points.
Right. So what does that put the Knights on?
20 as well. So they're on 20 at the moment. If they lose to the Sharkies and the Sharkies win, they'll all be on 20. So yeah, well, and same with the Dragons managed to magically win.
Massive opportunity for both teams, but definitely the Newcastle Knights could cement a top 8 position with a win on Sunday afternoon.
Yes, well they should. They would probably jump to 7 if we imagine the other two teams losing. Put them right in there. So yeah, I back the Knights too. Monks.
Yeah, back to Knights in here as well. They are favourites $1.39. The Sharks are out at $3 at the moment. We've got a line of 7.5. Total match points 49.
And I think that's NRL for this week. We'll see how that round pans out and cover that next week. But let's move into the other local sport, and that's the AFL. And I think we're going to kick off and have to talk about a little bit of Tex to start with. Tex Walker, he did get suspended 6 weeks. Essentially, they said your season's done over his racial slur. He did make his statement that yesterday, just before all the news went live at about 5:30ish, which I think was 5 o'clock their time, roughly. But a bit of a big on the Esky curse with what we were kind of shouting him out to potentially be an All-Australian.
Yeah, massive curse. We take full responsibility for the abhorrent actions of Tex Walker. No, in all seriousness, it's kind of shaken up the Aussie rules world a little bit. You've got here a club captain, a leader, a bloke that a lot of people look up to. And look, he's said something which is not play on in the world that we live in and where we want footy to be going. From what I've been reading, it was a very, very quick sort of footy aggressive mindset, motivated racial slur. I believe it was a former brand of cheese was the word thrown out.
Same word I think Andrew Johns used to refer to some of the Queensland boys. So.
Yeah, and look, there's no place. There's no place for that anymore. Look, Tex has been stood down for the rest of the season, and they're saying 3 weeks into next year, will he be a part of the club's plans for next year? Time will tell. Watching Eddie Betts front up and talk to the boys on AFL 360 Tuesday night was quite confronting. Eddie being a former teammate of Taylor. I'm sure, blokes that would consider each other mates. And he was pretty shook up by this. It was quite emotional. He was kind of saying, when is enough kind of thing. And look, if this is a bloke that's played 10 games of AFL football and is a junior member of a club, not condoning it, of course, but it's a different story. Whereas you've got here an Adelaide Crows legend and club captain and leader of young men. He's dropped the ball. He knows it. The apology, boys. Did you catch that? It did seem a little bit scripted for mine.
Yeah. And I agree. And there was a bit of some chat about when they released it as well. Was right after the time that all the news kind of gets submitted for that day, so they couldn't report it in the major news bulletins. It would have to come out the next day. So whether there's a bit of media management
Sure.
the Crows team to kind of get that out. Hopefully he's remorseful. Hopefully he's learned his lesson. Hopefully it's a big change. I think Nick Nat came out today as well, kind of backing up Eddie's thoughts too, where that kind of goes for the players and their sentiments in the league. I think the biggest thing that comes out is people talking about it. So it's out there, front of mind. It was kind of the whole point of the kneeling over in America was more the actual conversation that it generated than the actual protest itself. So I think it's excellent that it's not excellent that it happened, but I think the conversation that is generated in regards to sport and being pushing that kind of social agenda within the community. That's kind of what sports there is. Guys that don't want to be role models, but they end up kind of being anyway.
Yeah.
You do get thrown in the spotlight a little bit like that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's you spoke there, Sean, about you don't want this thing to happen, but I do think it's being handled better than it used to be in the past. The fact that this was flagged by an Adelaide Crows official, who by all reports was an Indigenous bloke himself, and taken up within the club, and then they've been the ones to take some action rather than being an external thing. I do think that shows some signs of progress. But yeah, it's a shitty thing that's happened, and Taylor would know that, and now his whole reputation, and what he'll be remembered for, a lot of that comes down to this. And again, I'm not defending what he did, or what he said, but look, we've got to move forward as a country and as people, and you can have a laugh, I think, about race. We've got a Wog and a Skippy and an Asian here on this podcast, and we've been mates for a long time, and I think a little bit of banter's all good, but there is a line, and when you're saying some words which have got a bit of pain associated to them, then that's the line.
Yeah, you do have to understand the boundaries and where they sit, and hopefully not just text, but everyone can sort of learn from this experience and understand, how to move forward and be better at this sort of stuff, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of come full circle from the whole Collingwood stuff to start the year as well. So
yeah, it's not going to go away anytime soon, is it? It's something that we do need to be better at. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. There's lines that shouldn't be crossed, and that was one of them. And Taylor knows that. He's not the worst person that's ever walked on planet Earth, is he? But also we need to, as a people, try to understand that kind of language.
All right, let's talk some footy before we get into the rounds. So the big news: Toby Green hitting blokes with elbows. Shocked me. Unfortunately, this time it was Dangerfield who didn't play the rest of this match. Did he? He went off and didn't come back.
Got him in his throat.
Yeah, bad throat injury. He got 2 weeks. I think that got reduced to 1 on an appeal. What did you boys think?
I thought it was. Did it get reduced?
Yeah, I thought I saw that they appealed that and got down to 1.
I thought it was 2. Very, very similar to the Buddy Franklin incident that we were talking about a few weeks ago, and in which Buddy got off, and we were kind of saying Lance Franklin, great white sharks, protected species.
Yeah.
and then Toby Green, the villain, the bloke that everyone likes to hate, I suppose. Well, and look, he has maybe done that to himself.
Yes.
I think there might have been a bit of a Toby tax attached to this one. It's a tough one, isn't it? When you're getting tackled, you've only got a split second to try and defend yourself, and an open palm is fine, but a bent elbow is obviously no good. And when you watch it in slow motion, it looks pretty bad.
Yeah, and especially elevated elbows are probably the problem. Once it starts getting up there higher and higher, that's weird. Especially Toby Green being the smaller man in this contest, it's not a great visual for him, unfortunately.
No, you could do a fair bit of damage with those. But anyways, the Giants will be without Toby for their big clash with Richmond this weekend.
Time it. Tom Rodlift. Is that how you say it?
Rockliff.
Why'd I say Rob? It was Rock. I even read it as Rock and I said Rob.
I think it's because you're dyslexic. A Brisbane Lions legend, obviously now at Port Adelaide. He's calling it a day. I'll just try and get up some numbers there. There was a period where Tom Rockliff was the premier AFL fantasy player in the league, much like a Jack McRae is at the moment, if you will. He's only 31 years of age. What have we got here? 208 games total, so 154 for the Brisbane Lions and 56 for Port Adelaide. Has actually sort of been in and out of Port's side this year. And I tell you what, as a 31-year-old myself, can understand it, mate. You're old, you're tired, your hamstrings are tight. Look, our skill level's probably about the same. So I can really empathise with you here, Buzz.
Grundy 2.0 over here. Yeah, well, and if you're not getting game time, it probably doesn't help as well. Some of those is like, hey, I can do other stuff. I've made good money. Got other things to do in my life. Speaking of good money, Josh Kelly getting a monster 8-year deal with GWS, reported of $8 million a mil a season. Massive deal for him, and locked him in long term to stay there at the club.
Massive news for Josh Kelly. Big deal. We do speak about it here on the Esky, about these 8, 9, 10-year deals. Are they beneficial for the player? Are they beneficial for the club? I suppose time will tell there. But Josh Kelly's done very well for himself, it would seem, at the moment.
Speaking of the Giants, I think we're running into round 22 of the AFL. We've got GWS taking on Richmond.
Yeah, boys. It's a bit of a coin toss here, I think, for mine. Massive game in terms of the finals. The 2019 grand final rematch, 8th versus 10th at the moment, with the Giants being 2 points clear of the Tigers. Muntz, you highlighted this a few weeks ago, actually, as being a really important game in terms of finals implications. What are we thinking here, lads? It's a bit of a coin toss, a coin toss rather. I have gone. I've gone the Richmond Tigers here to back up a little bit of poor form. And get the win here. GWS, obviously, with that massive upset against Geelong last week.
Yeah, I think Toby Green's a big out for them. I just think GWS is going in the right direction and Richmond is not. So I back GWS. But like you say, coin toss. It should be a good game of footy on Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah, hopefully it is a good game of footy. I have gone Richmond with no real confidence at all. They are favourites heading into the match at $1.65. GWS are out at $2.25. We've got a line of 6.5. So yeah.
Yeah, not much.
No.
Next match, Hawthorn taking on the Western Bulldogs. Western Bulldogs coming off a shock loss to the Bombers, and unfortunately we don't have Macca here to drown his tears with us. I wouldn't surprise me though if they just completely lost their marbles and lost their way due to the Josh Bruce injury, doing his ACL. His season done.
Yeah, I don't think that it had any
implications
on the game because it was only in the last sort of minute. But yeah, that's a massive injury for the Dogs. With Brucey gone, kicked 10 in a game this year against the North Melbourne Kangaroos. I think he's coming equal second with Taylor Walker in the Coleman medals. So both those blokes obviously rubbed out for the rest of the year. And you feel for the bloke, Canberra boy, been playing probably the best year of his life, and what really looked like a pretty innocuous kind of position for his knee to go there at the end of the game. Tell you what was nice and a sign of class from the Essendon Bombers players was Jake Stringer. And there was another bloke there that just got straight around Josh Bruce. They were calling out, for the physios to come out and check him out. And yeah, no, you don't leave anything out on the football field when when the ball's in dispute and when there's a game on the line. But after a pretty serious injury like that, nice to see the Bombers boys getting around Josh Bruce there.
So how did this game then go down between the Bulldogs and Bombers? Because I know Judas over here didn't pick his own team.
Yeah.
So,
the
curse. So how did the Bulldogs lose their way so much that this was a pretty low scoring game, wasn't it?
Well, we bet the overs, and we got that. That was part of the On The Esky bet of the week there. Look,
84.97.
Yeah, by their standards, perhaps a touch, but that's one of the highest scoring games in the league that week, or last week, I should say. Look, don't take any credit away from the Bombers. We've been speaking about them going in the right direction at length for the last few weeks. I don't think they're that far off being a pretty classy side, and they're showing it when they can go out and knock off the side that was coming first going into last week. Look out for them pushing for a finals position here. Look for the Dogs. I think maybe a little speed hump. I think the way that the Brownlow medalist Marcus Bontempelli is playing is really good. And Bruce obviously will, his big shoes to fill. That's where number one draft pick Jamari Hagan needs to step up. It's a massive opportunity for him. Obviously, opportunity has gone down and will won't play for the next year or so. But he's a number one draft pick, so it's his chance to shine and show in the draft.
Yeah. So, and I'd say Hawthorn are no Bombers. So I wouldn't surprise me if we're Bulldogs across the table here in this one.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think they do it pretty easily.
Yes. Yeah, so they are favourites $1.22. Hawthorn's out at $4.35 at the moment. We've got a line of 27.5.
Next game, Port Adelaide taking on the Blues. Blues lose last week, perhaps?
Yeah. Look, this season's done. They've had that really impressive win against that's the impressive win between the shit sandwich that was losing to the Gold Coast and North Melbourne. They can start thinking about next year. I'll tell you a bloke who's up there with the most unlucky people in Australian sport. Carlton captain Sam Doherty. He had back-to-back ACLs back in 2018, 2019. He's already had one bout of testicular cancer. It was announced, or he let the boys know and the media know earlier in the week that his testicular cancer is back. He's going to have to do some radiation or chemotherapy for that, and on top of it all, he lost his old man, in the last few years. So a bloke who's 27 years of age, and you couldn't write a worse script for him. So just I think the whole AFL community and just Australian fans, and wishing him all the best going back to get treatment for that. So he'll be gone for the rest of the year. Again, these games probably not that important. I think in a little bit about 2020, he is out the Coleman medalist. You'd think for 2021. He's out with a shoulder with an AC joint, and Sam Walsh, who appeared to have rolled his ankle quite badly at the end of that Gold Coast run, he's set to line up this week against Port Adelaide. Port, they're flat track bullies. They always put away teams below them. You'd imagine that they get the job done here at the Adelaide Oval. I've tipped Port.
Agree. Yeah, I've picked Port as well. Thanks. I think you've probably done the same.
Yeah, I've gone the same. They are favourites, $1.13 at the moment. Carlton are out at $6. We've got a line of 35.5. Total game points 163.5.
So next game we've got Geelong taking on St Kilda. Joe Selwood was the main kind of note here. He got done with a $3,000 fine for a high contact. Coming off last week with the injuries, the injury to Paddy, to Dangerfield. I've actually picked St Kilda for this one.
Wow, that's a massive upset and a big fall. I don't mind it. We do talk about the hot and cold Saints this year. You never know which Saints is going to rock up. I think they played their final last week against Sydney. And if you go off the hot cold kind of rhetoric we've gotten this year, I've tipped the Geelong Cats here. Even if they are dangerous. Monks, if you wouldn't mind your tip and some odds, I just am going to do a quick leak. I'll be back.
Too easy. So yeah, I've gone Geelong as well. They are favourites, $1.22. St Kilda are out at $4.35. So if you get that one, Sean, I think a lot of people will be happy. Line's 26.5 as well.
Next match. Is there a ground for this, Monks? Can you find me a ground? We've got TBC here at the moment. We've got Brisbane Lions taking on the Collingwood Pies.
No, you go.
So the big return of a Cockatoo. He returned last week in that game against I can't remember. He came back and beat them too. Yeah, but who did they play last week?
That's a great question. Fremantle.
Yes, it was Fremantle. There you go.
Yeah, that took way too long.
No, all good. Beating Fremantle. He's back to Cockatoo. He's played his first AFL game since 2018. He did kick 2 sausage rolls. The Lions kind of got back on the roll. He had a very good win against Fremantle, against the Dockers in this. I think they ended up putting a 50-point margin on them.
About that. It was 118 to 54.
Yeah, so over 50. Yeah. Kind of a good return of form. Got a bit more fire through the middle of the pack. My cousin Barry, of course, getting a bit of eye rub from Bradshaw in this one too. But in this one, Bradshaw. In this one, the Lions taking on Pies. I've backed the Lions. I think they're just going to be too good for the Pies outfit.
Yeah, I've gone on the Lions here. I think the Pies are We got sound effects on the Esky.
Oh, geez. That soundboard's really putting some work in tonight. Yeah, I've gone Lions as well. Yeah, they are favourites $1.11 at the moment. Pies are out at $6.70. If you're interested in a line, it is 37.5.
Should be big time winners.
Yeah. So I think Lockie Neal's back this week as well.
Yeah. Bit of extra firepower in the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
All right, next match, we got North Melbourne taking on Sydney. I believe this is a Marvel Stadium, so it's not Tasmania. North Melbourne won't win this game. They've been better of late, but I think, as I think we said last week, they're better a couple of games in Tasmania and then one good game at the MCG from memory, but I don't think they get by Sydney. I think Sydney on track. Buddy, I think only kicked one last week, so he needs to make up a few. If he's trying to get 1,000.
And what a great opportunity to go do it.
Yeah, so I've got Sydney in this one.
Yeah, I've gone Swans, and I don't think Buddy Franklin kicks 1,000 goals this year.
Oh, there you go. There's a shout. He's got to kick 5 to get back on track.
It is looking a little less likely. Yeah, I've gone Swans as well. They're $1.46. North Melbourne are out at $2.76. Got a line of 14.5.
All day.
Yeah. You think Sydney put some points on it?
You think actually on further, I think the Swans have won a lot of games by not much. So yeah, we'll see.
Buddy Franklin seems to be out this week as well.
Oh, there you go.
So he's being managed at the moment.
That was always our concern.
Yeah. So yeah, probably not getting that 1,000.
Well, after last week getting one, they probably said, "You're a bit far off now. Let's take it easy. Let's try. Let's see
how far we finals."
Yeah, that's it.
Next match we got.
What about the D's and the mighty Crom?
Yeah, taking on Crom. Crom, of course, shocked the D's back in round 10 in a 1-point thriller. What do you think, boys? Can they do it again?
No, I don't think so. I think Melbourne having that gutsy win over in shocking conditions in Perth Monday night. I think they should be too strong for Adelaide here. We've obviously highlighted the concerns with them putting away lowly teams this year, but I think they get the bickies here.
And of course, all the text drama during the week for the Crows. Can't
help.
So, I'm going Melbourne.
That's it. Yeah, lightning doesn't strike twice. I've gone Melbourne as well. They are favourites $1.07 at the moment. The mighty Crom are out at $9.20. We've got a line of 43.5 with total match points of 155.
Yeah. Wow.
What
do we got next?
What was that line?
Oh, sorry. The line was 43.5.
Yeah, still points. I think Melbourne should win this, but I probably wouldn't be touching that.
Yeah, fair enough.
But following that, we've got the Suns coming in to take on the Red Hot Bombers coming off their big win. What are you boys thinking of this? The way the Bombers are going, I don't think the Suns get close. I've backed the Bombers in here.
Yeah, I think the Bombers are heading up at the right time. Massive game in terms of them playing finals football. Gold Coast beat a pretty ordinary Carlton side last week. So yeah, I think the Bombers, it's their game to lose. I've tipped them.
Yep. Same here. They are favourites at $1.29. Gold Coast are $3.66 at the moment. We've got a line of 21.5. Total match points of 157.
And it finishes off. To finish it off for the AFL round, we've got the teams out west. We've got Fremantle taking on West Coast. It's Optus Stadium. They will have crowds because COVID's only on the East Coast at the moment. But it ends up being a massive derby, not derby, with both teams losing last week.
That note was actually from myself because I've taught on a derby before, but they say derby out in the West.
Yeah, derby.
That's right.
Freo have slid down from 8th to 12th. As mentioned, Brayshaw cops a week for poking at Jared's eyes. Freo have lost the last 11 in the derby in a row. So has anyone been game to take Freo in this?
Nope.
Big time, nope.
Yeah, I've gone West Coast here. Look, they've been pretty ordinary in a lot of their showings, but I still think they're a class above Fremantle here. Dave Mundy, he's drawn level with Matthew Pavlich's Dockers game record. He played his first game back in 2004. So let that sink in. There'll be some AFL draftees in the next draft that were born in that year.
Definitely.
That's insane.
Brady, yes.
Yeah. Speaking of Brady, I think that's our transition then into the NFL. And we'll talk some NFL news. Tell Sarah it's not bedtime, and we have an air podcast to do. So let's get started.
She did just say, come gave me the eyes for good nights. That's probably, we got half an hour, I'd reckon.
So NFL news, preseason games, the full slate of games kick off for after the Hall of Fame game last week for this weekend. We did have Pittsburgh taking on Dallas with a 16-3 win.
Yep, that was the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Hall of Fame game. Bit of a shit show, only backup quarterbacks. Some of the big names did play a couple of snaps, but most of it was pretty reserved, and you had some of the no names, like second stringers, third stringers, and fourth stringers, guys trying to make rosters out there playing. Interesting enough, it sounds like a lot of the clubs are going to rest a lot of their big players, especially quarterbacks. So if you've got an established quarterback, don't expect him to be playing any preseason games. They're trying to protect its species, and any of those high-profile, well-paid players also, I don't think will be playing overly too much in the preseason.
Who are the backups at Dallas and Pittsburgh?
Mason Rudolph was Pittsburgh's. No fucking idea for the other ones, because Rudolph only played half the game too, I think.
And it was Andy Dalton last year, but he's gone to Chicago.
Yeah. I don't remember. Another young fella who hopefully Dak's okay with his shoulder, because the Cowboys are going to need him, because I don't think they've got anyone of note backing him up a quarterback this year.
I did see on the socials this week that this game had more viewers than an average Stanley Cup or World Series game would have.
Football's back, baby.
That is wild. That is wild.
That is wild.
And it's rubbish. And we don't know who the backup quarterback for Dallas is.
So good.
It probably helps that Dallas was playing in this game. So
for sure. Yeah.
To Hard Knocks 2 has just kicked off for them. So
yeah,
they're massive market, massive media team, America's team, of course. So that helps the situation a little
bit. Yeah. I do have the depth chart here. We have a Garrett Gilbert as second stringer.
Double G.
For Dallas.
He's 1 G away from being a world-class boxer. It sounds like full thumbs down on that joke.
Yes, big time.
What about Josh Allen? Man got paid.
Yeah, got paid big time. 6-year extension, 258 mil, 150 mil guaranteed. I think it's the big number there. So
yearly, that's more than Mahomes, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he fits in between Mahomes and someone else, maybe Dak. I think he fits in between Mahomes and Dak. So that's where. So Mahomes, I think, gets still paid more technically, but he fits in between the two of them. What's really big news out of this is because Lamar Jackson and Blake and Mayfield also in his same class, also looking at new deals too. So whether they, well, no, take Lamar for example, he could probably just roll straight into Ravens front office and say, "Give me that deal. That's what I want." So it'd be interesting to see if it's huge money, a huge part of the salary cap, and see how the club takes it. Lamar, of course, dealing with a bit of COVID, I think, at the moment. He's been cleared to go to training camp, but yeah, had a second bout, unfortunately, the Rona.
He doesn't worry about COVID. He's just got to worry about when he needs to take a shit in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes to go. That's all he's got to worry about.
Yeah,
he plays better afterwards, doesn't he?
Yes. He's a drop of juice.
As you would. It's a massive weight off your shoulders.
Not just your shoulders.
Of several other organs and bodily structures.
Speaking of some other deals in the NFL, Darius Leonard got paid for the Colts. I think he's now the highest paid inside linebacker. Well, him and Fred Warner are kind of sharing that at the moment. So inside linebackers getting paid.
Well, those two, along with Bobby Wagner, are probably the three elite inside linebackers getting around these days.
Yeah. And then following on that, Xavier Howard also got a new deal for the Finns to make him happy. I think they restructured it and put some extra bonuses in there for a Pro Bowl and something else, which bumped his money up, where it would be something he can definitely achieve and be equivalent to all those other corners that were ahead of him money-wise. So that made him a little bit happier, and he's going to stay put at the Finns for now.
Yeah, that's big for Xavier, isn't it? Because we spoke about it a few weeks ago on the pod, making it quite public that he was unhappy with his situation there in Miami. So it's good to see him in the front office come to terms. And let's be honest, probably one of the elite cornerbacks in the NFL, and he shall be paid adjustingly for that.
Yep. Yeah, big time. To finish off some notes in the NFL, there's been some reports coming around that the league sent out a memo about taunting penalties and a bit of a video explaining what the different taunting penalties would be. The NFL also stands for the No Fun League, so they're very much any kind of flexing or in people's faces at all, like even looking at the other bloke the wrong way, is going to constitute a flag now. So the classic, say Tyreek Hill, what was the Buccaneers safety's name? I've forgotten.
Monks, you'd know this. Antoine Winfield.
Yeah, Winfield.
The NFL putting up the two as representing how many catches he'd had. That would constitute a penalty going forward.
Yeah.
The rule makers in the NFL are kind of a bit separated from their fan base and what the fans like to see. And they do like to see a bit of, celebration within the sport versus none.
We've seen them sort of relax the celebrations, at least for touchdowns over the last couple of years. So,
well, they changed the rule. They backflipped on that. They had it was like celebrations bad, and then got real stuck into it. And T.O. I think was the face of a lot of that at the time. But then they've kind of gone back the other way and said, yeah, we want to see celebrations. That's the stuff that gets put on mass media all over the place. Think of Stephen Diggs catching the miracle, throwing the helmet and the big flex at the end. That's everywhere. So celebrations of touchdown, that's big time.
Yeah.
And there's a marked difference between after you've scored and sharing a moment with teammates and compared to, the high stepping, pointing out defenders, taunting sort of things. Yeah. Look, I hope they don't go too berserk with the way that they officiate this, but I don't mind the move. I don't mind the fact that they're trying to take away that nasty, egotistic side of the sport and push it perhaps more towards a celebratory moment with your teammates and the fans.
Yeah, it would not surprise me if they go the way of the NRL of this, start off pretty hard and then it fades off and then they relax it a fair bit.
Taking notes from the Bumhole League.
And to finish off, we mentioned Hall of Fame week last week. The Hall of Famers, massive group of Hall of Famers as well. Peyton Manning, Calvin Johnson, Charles Woodson, John Lynch, Edwin James. It's for us. So that's probably the first generational decade that we really got deep into the sports of generational talents for us. So all the speeches I think were excellent. Steve Atwater was another one. Off the top of my head, 3 Broncos, 3 guys that played for the Broncos definitely getting in there. Peyton Manning, I think, had one of the biggest entourages, getting Tom Brady across, and then all the former guys he played with.
One of the biggest foreheads to ever be inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame.
Well, I think someone asked him if he's going to do commentary, and he said he wouldn't be able to fit his neck and his forehead in the booth. So he's a good bloke, Peyton. And
he is.
Of it. I think Edwin James's line of "I started with gold teeth, ended with a gold jacket" will be pretty timely, and everyone will, always think back to that as a big kind of moment, a big quote. So it was really, really good, and they all had their day in the sun, or their time with their moments with family, and had big parties. So it was pretty impressive. What did you boys think?
Yeah, no, it was cool. It was nice to see all those players get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Especially for me, seeing John Lynch as well going in. It's been a few years coming, so yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, Sean, going back to your point, in that this is the first sort of Hall of Fame inductee class, which really encapsulates the players that were playing when we started getting into the sport as 30-something-year-old Australians. I think this inductee class, is your Peyton Mannings, your Charles Woodsons, your John Lynches, your Calvin Johnsons. That is, for us, being Australian American football fans growing up, that is what it was all about.
Yeah, big time. And you think of some of the safeties that are coming up and have gone in already. Ed Reed last year, and you got Troy Polamalu, and then Brian Dawkins coming up too. That generation of, say, safeties as well, like unreal kind of talent, and all the positions. To get to that point of being a Hall of Fame conversation, they're just unreal.
Yeah, it makes me feel kind of old. that all these guys are in the Hall of Fame. There's some nuts stuff going around Tom Brady's longevity as well. So Calvin Johnson, I think, got drafted into the NFL in Tom Brady's 6th year or 7th year playing, and now Tom Brady's still playing, and Calvin is 5 years out of the NFL.
Yeah, that's it. Well, everyone always talks about Tom Brady's 2 Hall of Fame stints that he's done. So, the longevity of him is just crazy.
And we'll take Vinatieri, for example. He got 5 Super Bowl rings because of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. So they both had a lot to say for his career too. Future GOAT or Hall of Famer himself, I'd say, as a kicker.
Yeah.
Hey, Vinatieri going to shout Brady and Manning a beer on his podcast this week.
Well, I think Pat probably did it for him, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Fair.
That's NFL. I think we'll run through the remaining news that we've got. NBA, again, a lot of player news and movement. Ben Simmons trade talks heating up. He sounds like he's not talking to the Philly to the club anymore. So it looks like he's done with them. Wants to be moved. Golden State seems like a lightning destination. Sounds like they may want to trade him for Dame. Like they get better value, of course, out of that. 76ers.
It really sounds as if Ben and his teammates are not on the same page, and by all accounts, I think he's out of the city of brotherly love next year.
Yeah, and the other interesting note we had here was Dennis Schroeder. He turned down a 4-year, $84 million deal to stay with the Lakers, who have been signing everyone and building a Monstars team themselves, to sign a 1-year, $5.9 million deal with Boston. I wonder if he just kind of saw the writing on the wall with all these other guys coming that I'm not going to get any game time. I'll go take a 1-year deal, prove-it deal at Boston, get lots of game time, and then hopefully get a massive deal out of that. What did you think?
No, I don't think that's crossed Dennis's mind at all. I think he got offered that and was maybe trying to play a little bit hard to get, trying to, squeeze another $1 or $2 million out of that deal. And then they've gone, oh, fuck him. We've got other people that we can bring to this tiny little franchise that we call the Los Angeles Lakers. And then they've gone, well, Dennis, you don't fit into our plans for next year. And he signed a 1-year, $5.9 million, prove that I'm good enough to get another 1-year deal in the NBA. I think he's absolutely shot himself in the foot here.
Yeah, I don't think he's gone to Boston because of that. Like, yeah, a 4-year, $84 million deal. You wouldn't walk away from that if you don't get any game time.
If they want to offer the On The Esky pals 1/100 of that deal to keep this little podcast up and running, I'll speak with my manager and we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
It's yes. It's yeah. Okay. It's just come in. It's yes.
What do you want us to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So NBA will keep tracking that. The summer league's going on at the moment. All the young fellas are getting some game time, some buckets, but otherwise not a huge amount of news floating.
Luca got paid.
Luca got paid. That was on the year. He got a max deal too.
Yeah, max deal. So good on him. Bringing it home for Slovenia. He's pretty worth half of Slovenia now.
Yeah, well, he makes up half their GDP. Yes.
Yeah, I'd imagine that. Not even out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
Let's talk some UFC. There was a pay-per-view on the weekend. Probably, by all accounts, probably not the greatest pay-per-view after losing Nunes off the top of it. So we had Gain taking on Derek Lewis. And as I kind of alluded to last week, Gain did get the win, becoming the first French champion. And I'll put champion in air quotes.
Yeah, air quotes.
With Ngannou still out there. He did get done third round technical knockout of Derek Lewis, but I think by all accounts, pillar to post, he was way better fighter as expected. Any thoughts on that, boys? Did you catch any of it?
No, just saw the highlights. It looked like they really banged on for a bit there. Again, the whole interim, heavyweight champion of the world thing doesn't sit very well with me at all. I think Francis has been really duped here by the UFC. The fact that he won that title makes his own rules, and if it sells fights that he's allowed to do it. So yeah, I think Francis is a little bit underdone here in the fact that there is an interim champion of the world. Having said that, I think Cyril Gane is one of the scariest motherfuckers walking the planet Earth. Yep. He hasn't lost, and he's put away Derek Lewis, a guy who has really taken scalps in the heavyweight division here in the UFC. So love the fight, love the the matchup. But having said that, I do think that Dana's kind of making his own rules here, and Francis should be a little bit pissed off about this even being a thing.
Yeah, I agree. So, which of course pushes the whole Gain Francis fight is probably the next one to come. Considering it sounds like Jones and Stipe are going to get together. So for their fight, it's reported that Stipe has accepted and they're just waiting on Jones. I think Jones kind of put it all over his socials that it looks like it's happening. Stipe's probably a good one for him because they'll hopefully both be about 240 coming into this. So they're taking on a Francis at 260 or 250 something. So a little bit less weight to be similar kind of builds. Stipe, of course, wants his trilogy, his rematch with Ngannou, but a money fight against Jones, that's probably the biggest fight you can get at the heavyweight division. Get a win over Jones, then yes, you're straight back in the conversation for Francis. Whoever wins that fight essentially gets the winner of Gain and Ngannou, I would think.
Yeah, I tend to agree with everything you said there. Look, I really like this matchup for John Jones. Been out of the game for a long time, trying to stack on as much weight as he can, and people sleep a little bit on Stipe. You know, one of the greatest heavyweights to ever have walked this planet. I would love to see this fight, and by all accounts, Stipe wants a trilogy with Ngannou. So you'd imagine if, and it's a big if he can get past John Jones, then maybe they start thinking about that. But looking forward to this fight.
Other fights that were kind of an interest on that card. So Aldo did get another win in the bantamweight division. Interesting enough, he's had more wins in the UFC than Conor has since their infamous 13-second fight all those years ago. Been in some chat lately as well that Aldo might make a good opponent for Conor to come back in, someone that's going to stand and strike with him going forward. Their weights are probably, Conor's now at lightweight at 155 and Aldo's now at bantamweight at 135. So it'll be interesting how they go weight-wise to make something like that happen.
Hard to meet in the middle.
But yeah, a name fight that they can put together for Conor that goes back to an old kind of big legacy moment for Conor and see if that maybe floats his boat as something, because I think they're a bit worried to put him in front of all those killers in the lightweight division, though the Dustin trilogy is still out there. It'll be interesting to see what Dustin does, because I think Michael Chandler and Gage coming up is going to be booked. So it's good fights there.
Do you know how old Jose Aldo is off the top of your
head? Mid-30s, I'd say.
Yeah, 34. In my head, I had him a little bit older, you know, very accomplished, obviously. And when Conor beat him, it was kind of at the peak of his powers. So I kind of thought that he might have been a bit long in the tooth. But, it turns out that Jose Aldo's 34. I would love to see that run back with Conor.
Yeah, and looking at his record and the row of killers he's fought since then, like he's always been in the top 3 to 5 of the division, and also fighting for belts too. Since then, hasn't been able to pick one up, but he's definitely been in those conversations and been in those fights.
Sure.
The only other thing I think of interest out of the UFC, well, no, it wasn't out of the UFC. It was in a lower promotion in the mixed martial arts promotion, but someone actually submitted a bloke with the walls of Jericho.
So where did this happen?
I don't know. It came up my feed that someone had actually done this. So Jericho being the wrestler, the WWE wrestler.
Chris Jericho.
Yeah, Chris Jericho, that is. Very, very famous and long-term stalwart of the WWE. Has a famous move called the Walls of Jericho. Basically sits on the lower back and pulls your legs up towards his stomach, kind of giving you a big arch in your back.
I think every little brother in the world has copped this from the big brother. Let's be honest.
100%.
3 elder siblings here. Monks doesn't have younger brothers, but myself and Sean, yeah, definitely dished out a couple of these fucking wrestling in the lounge room back in the day.
Yeah, big time. So someone actually pulled it off in a professional bout. And bloke to tap was probably one of the funniest things to happen this week. So if you haven't seen the video, go out there, find it, check it out. It's a moment in time for mixed martial arts.
We might be able to get that on our socials.
Yeah, we'll have to bring that one up.
Quick motorsport news. If you follow the MotoGP, the motorbikes, that is Valentino Rossi, great long-term world champion. I think he's actually got 9 world championships, which is more than Lewis Hamilton, more than Tom Brady. If you want to talk about GOATs, Valentino Rossi's up there in that conversation for his sport. Has announced that he's retiring and finishing up his career as a professional motorcycle racer.
Yeah, 42 years of age, and you were right, 9 world MotoGP titles for Valentino. I actually wasn't aware that he was still racing. I kind of thought that he must have been done a few years ago. Obviously, getting on a little bit in age, but look, like you say, we talk about goats, and the goat of MotoGP is Valentino Rossi, isn't he?
I think he's got 7 MotoGP World Championships, and then he's got one 250cc World Championship and one 125cc championship.
We're chucking the minors in.
Yep. Still a world championship.
Yeah.
7. Yeah, 7. Yeah. 7. Sorry. 7 more than I ever got.
And to finish us off for this podcast, we'll finish up with the football. The EPL starts this weekend. That's back. I've got a big Hammers fan at work, and he's been telling me how good West Ham are going to be this year, pushing for that 4th spot.
Well, went very close last season, the Hammers. And there's a bit of poetry about this podcast in that we'll start with and finish with the Lionel Messi saga. Obviously, Monk's shouting him a beer. That is by far and away the biggest news coming out of the football world. Probably the silver medal of football news is Jack Grealish signing a £100 million transfer fee to go over to Man City. The former record was Paul Pogba, £89 million to go over to Man United. That there's still a lot of speculation around Harry Kane, if he will leave Spurs to go over to Man City. Apparently, they've still got a lot of money to throw at him. And the EPL starts this week, boys.
Does anyone see? Either you two see anyone outside of Man City winning the EPL this year?
I was having a look on the odds, and
the EPL for me.
Yeah, they are. At the moment, they are. Our friendly unofficial sponsors there at Sportsbet have them at $1.67 to win the Premier League this year. Look, it's a long season. There's no reason why a Chelsea perhaps or a Liverpool couldn't push them. A little bit of bias here, but not outside of the realm of possibilities that United push them. But it's definitely City's to lose. Let's just hope, as Aussie, APL fans, that this is still interesting come week 35, week 36. Going into those last few rounds, you don't want to have essentially what happened last year in the 12 weeks before day 38. It was all over.
Yeah, definitely. I think last 10 rounds, 12 rounds, as you say, it was all done. You knew who was going to win, and then we're just fighting out for 2, 3, and 4. Play some of the European Champions League for you.
Yeah, and those battles can be interesting, but it's much better for English football when it's a contest right till the end.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's it.
And with that, lads, I think that'll do us for this week on the Esky podcast. Thank you all for participating and being a part of our first online podcast with us. We'll try to get Anthony better internet at some point, and hopefully it wasn't too bad and shocking to watch. Thank you, boys, for coming along. It was good to chat to you. Hopefully I'll see you in a week's time. If not, we'll have to do this all over again of some description. But thank you for coming out. If you enjoy the content, as always, please subscribe. That'll do us for this week.
Thanks, boys. Not sure how it's going to sound listening back, but we'll see how we go. Hopefully, it is just a 7-dayer here, and Dictator Bar.
He's not that bad.
Yeah, he's all right.
Could be worse. Could be worse. Not naming names.
Not naming names. Mark me down. Righto, boys. Well,
all right.
I'll see you when I'm looking at you in a week's time.
No problem.
Yep.
Bye, boys.
Catches.
Bye.